The next speaker is Roman Kutsi from Training Data Pro. He will talk about how to obtain high quality annotated data. Thank you, Roma.
Hi, so can I have my slides, please? I work at Training Data Pro, and we specialize in collecting and annotating data for orders. We have a lot of expertise in this area, and today I'm going to explain about processes, about different interesting points that we... Where's the links? That will also help you create quality data sets.
So what's up with my presentation?
All right, I will have a slide about me there, but let me tell you, without the presentation, I went to MKNG and I've been dealing with layout for over 5 years. We are certified Tolokin partners. I also sell at Shady Crowdsourcing. Great, the presentation is up. I've already covered this slide. Great. And today I'll tell you about 3 things. I'll tell you about the pros and cons of the iterative approach. We'll discuss the data annotation process with you and how to establish control in an iterative manner. Object markers for add positions. So as you know, there's Agile, there's Waterfall. There are supporters of one, there are supporters of the other. Today I'm going to talk to you specifically about ML development and how exactly these 2 approaches are used in ML development. Let's start with the waterfall development phase, where we have a process, break it into stages, and at each stage we perform a specific task. That is testing, annotation, marking, and then production. At this stage, in my opinion, there are major drawbacks. First, we all know that PML tasks are mostly research. You can know in advance which method will be the best, how to approach the task. For example, there was a competition on Kaggle where you had to tag seals, and you could approach it from a segmentation or detection perspective, key points and so on, right? And then you can't tell in advance which method will work. So in a waterfall method, it's hard to make changes and change our approaches to problem solving. The second problem is that often the headline marking is such an iterative process that you cannot pre-mark it, write an instruction on how to do it. For annotations, so we have a block where we noticed 3 cars, and it turned out we have a bus, and the bus has a sticker with a car on it. Here, should the car be labeled or not? The accuracy that is needed, raise your hands. By the way, some people think it's unnecessary. All right, we'll discuss later what the correct answer was. The next important point is that the data you train on and the data in production can be completely different. Especially in medicine, where you have there the usual selection on a Philips device, and you're doing production inferences on some other data from another device. So you get excellent quality on the training set, but in production it's complete nonsense. This is such a cool feature. Wax like many hens, more familiar, great. And like data labeling and protection systems, it's a repeated process because we have the data itself is changing. Sanctions have been imposed. Your mail. Coca-Cola has left the stores. We have to retrain this system for a different context. Drinks, exactly. And that's why a system can be developed once to run indefinitely. That's why more and more companies that they are working with us and moving to a detailed approach where they make small iterations and train models at each step. And that's great because it gives you significant advantages. First of all, you can immediately look at the cases where your system breaks down. We'll suggest they do video analytics, and the video analytics shows that they are catching tigers in your cities. You start looking at the data and realize that your tigers are like some kind of dogs. In this way, you can immediately spot the cases where your system fails and quickly fix them. Another important point is that if you already have a standard model at each iteration, you can use active learning by selecting those specific data stories for annotation that will benefit your algorithm the most. This allows you to faster and smaller data placement, and also you can use pre-annotation where labelers don't start from scratch but adjust existing data. With your neural network's outputs, it really speeds up and makes the labeling process cheaper. That's why more and more companies are adopting the HR approach because it gives them more and more advantages. Next thing I want to talk to you about is processes. Processes are crucial in data annotation. How is the data annotation campaign organized in general? There is a machine learning team that makes models, writes code, and conducts experiments. And there are labelers who do the annotations. Typically companies have a person like this. And everyone calls him something different. Agenix, he is called a cloud service architect. Some call him a data engineer, and others call him a manager. But in reality, this person is a role She always performs the same function in all companies. She connects people, the email department and the assessor. The email department hands the task to the project manager, who then breaks it down and understands. They clarify all the cases, hand them off to annotators. The annotators notice and create stuff like this. For instance, should I tag the image on the bus or not? Then the manager either answers questions or goes to the reporting team to find out the correct information. Here, what's the point? The point is that we've had many different projects and the quality of your data sets greatly depends on this person. So the project manager has the most levers, the most aspects that can affect the quality of your annotated data. So my advice, if you are going to make your own in-house department within the company, so pay a lot of attention to the manager projects. Because there were different cases where a strong team of annotators but weak project managers would ruin the project, but a strong project manager and a weak team of annotators and also do the project well. The managers can also choose and manage their own teams for annotation, opt for an outsourcing company and communicate directly with the outsourcing company's manager, or it can be put on crowd platforms to be used. Moreover, each tagging method has its pros and cons. And the manager knows exactly what is most beneficial and optimal for your company, and it will bring more value. Here,
Next,
I want to discuss with you
like
how
here,
to break
the
down
third
annotations
procedure.
into stages, and what should
Let's
you do
go.
when you have an annotation task. Just independently annotate a small volume of data, like 100 pictures. What will it give you? You understand the kind of data you have, so you'll get a better grasp of what's in them. Secondly, you measure your metrics. How many units of tags can you annotate in an hour?
Yes, there is.
You know,
there is over there.
Depending on your data volume, you can already estimate how many man hours you'll need, what your labeling team is like, and roughly how many days it will take. If you know the cost of a frequency tagger, you can already estimate budget labeling. This way, without labeling any data yet, you can already plan your budget for data labeling. Here, once you've done this, you pass on the data, and I strongly recommend not transferring all the data at once. Assign a small stage, because the first 10% of the tagging will be done by taggers, and they might misunderstand you, right? And with just 10% of the data, you both understand correctly. Either adopted your labeling logic or not. So you look at the new thorn that has emerged and adjust the markers accordingly. You make sure that at each stage you receive the data you need. Because we've had cases where the client drops off an unclear instruction, lives for 2 months, and comes back asking what we did, what we marked, and saying they meant something completely different. This process minimizes the chance of getting something you do not want. And since we don't have much time for the presentation, I'll just go over the main points with you now. I will show you links to various materials on how exactly to technically build the processes. I believe we have an ideal session today because we have all the candidates and speakers presented on various tagging topics. You need chaos markup, meaning you need Jenny Nikitin, whom everyone will tell you about. You need cross-sourcing, which means this is a lacquer. Here's outsourcing, then us, and there you go. Sberbank talked about the date of generation. See, here is a link showing the pros and cons of each data annotation approach. If you annotate this in-house, you'll need to choose a tool for annotation. Basically, there's a review article about the tools, about the pros and cons. Well, in our company, we mostly use Label Studio. We also use CVIT, which covers about 80% of the tasks that come up for us. It is also extremely important to write proper instructions. Evgeny clearly stated that instruction iteration is necessary, and the instruction must... That was removing the nonsense, and here's the instruction. Based on how to write instructions from Yandex, you can also scan and read it, and also about assessor annotation. It depends on how you train the assessors. You can have in-house assessors, or you can have crowd assessors. If you still have crowds left, you need to do this. Do training, half exams, main, pool, and rehabilitation. If you have an in-house assessor, then test tasks fit perfectly. Video instructions, guidelines, webinars where you discuss errors with taggers and so on. Oftentimes when a scout comes in, it's better to double check them frequently at first, and then slowly give them more freedom as they settle in. And trust. See, I see. We can handle control of the tags. Obviously, because it's the validation where we give tasks to assessors, then our qualification team checks the dimensions If the annotator did a poor job, it goes back for re-annotation. If it's good, the task is checked. Additionally, if you have a control task, you can assign it and monitor metrics for each annotator. If you are doing the task with overlap, you can already see the agreed answers from most people. But what if you have a neural network? That's really cool. You can look at the neural network's prediction, the annotator's prediction, and find cases where there is no agreement, thus identifying gross errors in data annotation. Exactly. And what I want to tell you, the idea you should take away from this presentation is that data labeling and the quality you receive depends on 3 key factors. It's all about your team, the people you have, how experienced are you as a project manager, how motivated your team is to work and annotate well. Secondly, what is about the processes, quality control processes, and task delegation from the machine learning department. Both annotations should follow the instructions you set out in writing, and so on. It is extremely important. The tool, that is how convenient your tool is, what metrics it gets, whether it has pre-labeling, whether it has active learning. This is also extremely important. I see many companies buying expensive tools, spending thousands of bucks, and hoping these tools will solve all issues. But in reality, you shouldn't forget about people and processes, because one tool alone won't pull it out. She still needs it. 2 main tools and people, processes to make sure people are well trained. I have a Telegram channel. Subscribe, hit the like button. Ready to answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Regarding the presentation, I see there's a question. What MLOps platforms would you recommend for development? There are a lot of platforms on the market right now. Probably the most important Amazon search maker is also Azure, Google platforms, Yandex, which uses ML models. I think Federica will explain this in more detail.
Thanks for the report. I'll ask in Russian. Have you tried any models for evaluating assessor skills? So, which is better to place, which is worse? And based on that, it's already known. Their markings put and Boolean, this is some kind of game.
Yeah, there are different models for aggregation methods, like David Skin, either by the major vault, entertainment. This way we can specifically to see what types of mistakes humans are making. For example, the David Skinner model allows mitigating errors. Open annotators and make your annotation more consistent.
Thanks. Okay. Any more questions? We have one more question. Time for one more question.
To be continued.
To be continued.
Thanks for the interview. So what's up with the car markings on the bus?
Got you.
So as you saw, the project manager has a crown, meaning his main goal is to understand the business requirement of your system. Let's assume you are developing for free cars the system, and you must accept the fact that the drone needs to detect real cars, not drone ones. So the correct answer is to understand from a business perspective whether to mark or build them. In this case, the cheetah for Autotech help us. And here it was necessary to annotate address written on buses. Yeah, only an eye with a bus, but the drone faces on the machine didn't need to be marked.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.